Well, hello there, and welcome to another episode, another wisdom drop from ArchiT. We are hosting Design Under Influence podcast with my friend, fellow entrepreneur, deep thinker, and happens to be an expert in ArchiCAD and everything to do with parametric design and all kinds of stuff. Willard Williams is here with me. Willard, say hi.
Hi, thanks for having me.
All right, the voice check was fine. we're continuing with our 10 steps. I mean, this has been an effort for both Willard and I to go through this and give it a detailed roadmap. But man, we're number 7, Willard.
Yep, we're almost there.
What are we going to do after we do all 10?
I don't know. I think the world is going to be in a better place. Everybody's going to be super efficient. We'll have to have like a pizza party or something.
That sounds like a plan. So our goal and hope and purpose is to help you, architecture firm owners and operators and deep thinkers and technology leaders and what have you, to go from AutoCAD to ArchiCAD and be happier, more effective, more efficient, make more money, and live a happier life, right? Well, that's basically it.
Yep.
That's it. So without further ado, let's go, because he's going to go deep. He's going to go deep. So we're going to dig into the step number 7 to successfully convert and achieve all those benefits that I just mentioned is documentation and drawing generation. Now, there's 5 subcategories that Willard's going to break down for us. Willard, kind of maybe get us into this topic by maybe kind of highlight what this is all like. Why is it important? Where are you? Where are we in the implementation cycle by this step? And kind of walk us through the 5 points, please.
Okay. Yeah. So let's just step back for a sec and talk about where we've come from. So first we had evaluate the project requirements, and then we had training and familiarization as step number 2. Mm-hmm. Then we had data migration. So you're putting your information into an ArchiCAD file from AutoCAD or wherever it is. Then we have a model reconstruction, which was number 4. Then we had the exciting one, template creation. And then last time we talked about collaborative setup. And now we are jumping into kind of documentation and drawing generation. And so kind of the high level kind of points is that at this point, we are probably very close to producing information either for a client or a building official or even for internal review. So we're trying to figure out how to get the information onto sheets or into a method that we can print, share as like for our consultants. And so really we want to talk about how to generate construction drawings, and we can be using kind of the automated features within ArchiCAD, which is parametric and kind of a unique kind of capability that you find in most kind of BIM applications at this point in your career. And then we have the customization of these layouts, so how you're seeing the information on the sheets itself. And then we have kind of the graphic and visual representation of the information as it's laid out onto the sheets. So what your line weights are, hatches, and things like that. And then we want to ensure kind of the accuracy of the information and consistency across all of our documents. So that's kind of step number 4. And then getting into optimization and efficiency for the project. So talking about how we can be the most efficient in delivering this information consistently time and time again. So that's kind of the high level, and I can jump into each of these kind of points in more detail, but globally, what we're trying to do is get information onto sheets and share it either as 2-dimensional information or whatever kind of backgrounds that we need to get to our consultants or clients and whatnot.
So we're kind of nearing production. This is the first time during this implementation process we're now ready to actually produce some things and share with the outside world, right? And
yeah. Theoretically, at this point, we have produced information to a level that we feel like we are ready to share with the world.
Well, then tell us all the gotchas and the 5 points that you've outlined. Let's go deeper on them. Let's do 2 to 3 minutes each because we had a little hiccup during the initial recording.
Yeah.
Press record. Yeah. So I mean to cut you short, but we will need some expediency with these today.
Yeah, for sure. And this is a very complex topic, and it would require way more time than we would have anyway. So we're just going to go through this as quickly as possible. So what we're trying to do is get our floor plans onto the sheets. So that's floor plan, section, elevation, details, and schedules. So now we're looking at how our layouts and the information that we've created, how it was kind of generated, what information that how we've saved that information, whether it's views, and how that information is being placed onto the sheets. Because there's a lot of automation kind of features within ArchiCAD, theoretically, if we have either built our template correctly or, within reason, it is functioning correctly, we should technically be able to create multiple different ways that we're looking at similar information. So if we have a floor plan that we want to show in schematic design versus construction documents, there might be layer combinations or different kind of elements that we want to see or hide. But that should potentially be an automatic kind of feature that you are building into your layout book. And so as we're producing these floor plans and creating layer combinations or pin sets or the way that we actually want to see it, we should be able to put those onto sheets into our layouts. And we technically should be able to have multiple different layout sets that represents each of these phases. And in those layouts, we should have it directly tied to how we want the information to look. And so that's leveraging both your template, some of the ways that you're setting up these drawings, but in theory, you should be able to run concurrently multiple different ways that you're looking at similar information. So, and those pieces of information, whether it's a section, a detail, or a schedule, should be placed, and then it should be the way that you want it to look. And so this goes back into template creation. This goes back into being familiar with the software. But in theory, you should be very quick about how you get from a schematic floor plan with some of the information, and it should automatically be populating a sheet that represents how you want that information to look. But this is a huge topic. This is a very, there's a lot of key points into how that information is represented. And, if you are looking for, more kind of guidance in this, ArchiT or, other outlets out there can provide you with some guidance. And
you need a BIM consultant here, right?
Yeah, BIM consultant or a personal trainer or somebody like that, just to help you. But you can do it on your own. But because of kind of the nuances and how you set this up, it can drastically affect your efficiency and allow you to be a very high performing group or individual in terms of getting information ready to be published or shared or whatnot.
So this is, I just want to one quick interjection here. This is a production. Like I said, this is the first time you're producing output that you're sharing with other people, and that potentially, it's revenue impact right here, reputation impact, whatever. And so you find, when you work with customers that are transitioning from AutoCAD to ArchiCAD, is this the time? Is this the point where you spend some significant time in that consulting relationship? Is it more than the previous 6 things we've done?
No, but it's a culmination of the previous six things. Yeah. So you'll know right away if you get to this point if you need to go back to previous points and study up a little bit on how to make this more efficient.
Gotcha. I wanted to understand, do people get cold feet right here, this step, and bring in a BIM consultant a lot? Like, have you ever come into a relationship where this is where, generating documents was your first kind of a touch point with the company?
Yeah. This is definitely where you realize that you might have skipped a step or might not understand how to be optimal in this part of this is where everything starts to show up. This is where line weights or pins or layer combinations. So what is shown or hidden. This is where graphical representation of information. This is where renovation information starts to come into play. So a lot of different information that we, briefly covered in previous steps reveals itself here as I need to go back and figure out how to make this look the way that I want it to look.
Gotcha.
And I think there's another piece of this where if you go in and as you're setting up your template and you can have kind of a sample project or like a sample look to it, that's where this step becomes a little bit easier because you've already thought through what it looks like when it gets to this phase.
Gotcha. All right. So we are number 2, customization of layouts.
Yeah. So number 2 is kind of talking a little bit more detail about what the documentation and drawing generation. So when you're generating the drawings, you're generating the floor plan or the elevations. Now you're bringing them into like the layout space or bringing those views onto the sheets. And that's where, how the title block looks, how the actual layout is representing, what information you're seeing, how that view that you brought in is represented on the sheet. So this is kind of dovetailing to kind of the previous, construction drawing generation and automation. And then this is customizing those layouts and those views. And this is a step where I see organizations who haven't totally figured everything out start to piece it together because they will bring in a view onto their layout and it creates the information as it's going to be represented when it's published. And this is where you start to understand kind of the parametric nature of, the software where you're like, okay, this is what is on my floor plan, but it's showing up in a way or a scale or, in a rendition that's not necessarily the way that I want it to look. So I think that this also starts to hone your skill set or hone your understanding of the software because now you're seeing that it is a closed ecosystem that is totally circular and connected. So when you make an adjustment to your floor plan, it's going to adjust how it looks on your layout and your sheet. So this is kind of, supplementing kind of the first element, and this is getting a little bit deeper. And now you're starting to understand you are directly affecting each of the drawings through kind of previous templates or settings or whatnot. And it's directly going to be shown up here, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Look, it does to me, even in theory, right? I went through with this whole process with you without touching ArchiCAD. So imagine like I could probably just go in and start building buildings.
I hope so. We'll do that next time. And I guess kind of going back to one of my other analogies is like, this is like publishing a book. So when you are looking at the text on the book or the words on the book, this is really that piece of that publishing process where now you're seeing that you have Arial text when you really want Times Roman or some other text. And then you're also seeing how the text fits on the sheet and kind of the general representation of that information. And so this starts to play into both what words you potentially are saying in that paragraph, as well as how the paragraph looks when you're laying it out. And as kind of expanding on that, because this is a BIM application, when you start to use a synonym for a word and say, you know what, I don't want to actually use that word. I want to use a word that's similar to that. That's where kind of the BIM aspect of it comes in, and the parametric nature of the software, where it's like you're adjusting it, the context of the paragraph, but then you're also adjusting the way that the paragraph looks on the sheet. And that's kind of what this process is. Like, yes, it looks okay, but maybe the content is not correct, or maybe the content is not correct, but it looks okay on the sheet. So that's what this is getting into. And kind of the next section, kind of the graphic settings and visual representations. Again, that's kind of diving a little bit deeper into each of these points, which is saying, my line weight for doors or my hatch is too thick. So the word in the paragraph is bolded, but I actually don't want it to be bold. I want it to be underlined. Or I've highlighted a section in the paragraph, but really, I don't want it highlighted, which could be like there's a hatch that's showing up and I don't want it to be too dark. And it could also go into kind of the pin sets. So what I find really unique is how ArchiCAD controls the way that information is being presented, and then how the information is being controlled in terms of objects or view sets. So say, for instance, I want my set to be completely black and white, because some jurisdictions require black and white drawings for some really odd reason. I'm not sure. But I want my client to see a color, or I want my consultant to see a color. Now I can create separate sets in my publisher set or in my layout books that are specifically oriented to the receiving party or the context that I'm trying to present it to. And so there's like this, very deep kind of control that you can have. And it's not as if I'm presenting information in one drawing and having to go back to that drawing necessarily to manipulate it. I can control it in my layouts. I can control it in my publisher set. And that is a very unique kind of feature in ArchiCAD that is not necessarily easily duplicated in other applications, where I can have 10 different sets, one for an submittals, I can have a client set, I have a consultant set. And even though the raw information is coming from the same place, I can manipulate it in these translations. And just to skip back into kind of this theory of creating or publishing a book, this would be if I published a book as a physical book, if I published a book as a digital Kindle book or something of that nature, or if I'm, just excerpting, a section from that book, and they can all represent the same content, but they can be looked at or viewed in different ways. And you can control each of those and have them in an area where you're not necessarily having to go back and recreate the wheel every time that you're doing this. So it's a lot of efficiency potential when you have the ability to understand that, there's so much control, but the raw information could be the same, but it's just the way or the lens that you're looking at it with. And that kind of gets into kind of the last two is, accuracy and consistency. So now you're looking at accurate information and the consistency across documents. So you're looking at how each document is being represented and how that information is being conveyed from, whatever plan or model view that you're generating this information for. And then you're also seeing that because even though you're translating this information across different ways to share it, the accuracy and consistency is going to remain across all those, pieces of sharing or areas that you're sharing those to. So then you can also use that for, standard compliance, for integrity of the data, and then cross coordination between your different disciplines. So again, you're diving a little bit deeper. You're seeing that the information is being able to be translated in multiple ways, and you're maintaining the consistency and standards that you need to adhere to. And finally, this gets into the optimization and kind of the project efficiency. So if you are building your template or have like a little bit extra time to start to sharpen the pencil and say, okay, you know what? I want my drawings to look like this for this phase or this delivery, then I can adjust those accordingly. And that's defining your template. Then you're also able to do a lot of kind of unique things, which is like collaborate with your team. So, and also respond to jurisdictions. So you're using tools like a markup tool, or you're using tools like, a comment tool, and you're able to mark up your drawings, mark up your comments, either give them back to your team directly within ArchiCAD or create a Bluebeam session. And those markups are translated right into Bluebeam, and you're able to pull those back into ArchiCAD. So now you're seeing that not only do you have this really great path of getting from one, floor plan to 5 different deliverables or to 5 different parties that you're sharing this with, but then you're also seeing that like now you're collaborating with your team or, outside consultants, or you're reviewing the documents or doing things inside of the application, but that information is not lost and it's not stagnant or hidden, but it's now a part of the entire ecosystem. And so this is really kind of the mastery of like what you're doing is like, now you're at a phase where you're sharing information. Now you're seeing all the potential pitfalls in what you've done or the things that you need to get more educated about or have more experience with. And it's definitely the culmination of all of the pieces, that you're looking for. And truly one of the places where you're going to see tremendous efficiencies once you kind of digest the process a little bit. And this helps you see the process. So a lot of little things that we kind of go over in this, but very deep connections and a true understanding of how rich this application is.
Yeah, this is fantastic, Willard. So, I mean, the fact that you can speak to it with such eloquence and continuity, and if mastering those workflows, if a business masters those workflows, that's basically that results in the ultimate outcome for this whole process of going parametric, right? Of going to ArchiCAD, of painfully suffering through a transition. And every software transition, especially design software, especially that core business software, is always complicated. Try switching your accounting software, QuickBooks, to something else, FreshBooks. It's not easy. It's not trivial. This is even deeper. So I appreciate all of you. We all appreciate all of your knowledge drop and your time with this. If people have questions, or you need Willard's help, or you need hands-on advice, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're getarchit.com. We're ArchIT. We provide IT services for our customers, architects, designers, and engineers. That's who we serve. That's our community. And this episode and Willard's effort is part of us helping the community, as well as letting you know that, hey, if you need BIM help, we're here. We're here for you.
Yep.
With that said, I appreciate your time again, and I'll see you on step 8 next time, or unless we find something else to talk about.
Yep. Great. Thanks, Alex.
But hey, just one quick question before we go. Is 997 in your email? That's a Porsche model year?
Yeah. Yep.
Which one's 997?
997 was the second liquid cooled. That's like from 2007 to 2012, I think. I forget.
Oh, second. Is that the runny egg headlights one?
No, that's the 996.
996. Okay.
They went back to the round headlights in 997.
When they fixed the runny egg situation.
Yeah, they fixed that problem.
Awesome. All right. Also, both of us are Porsche fans, except one of us has one. I'll let you guess who does. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you very much for watching and listening. And Willard, again, thanks a lot. And we'll see you again soon.
All right. Thanks for your time.
Cheers. Bye.